This tutorial is going to be a little bit longer. We're using a LumenDim M4 and we're going to change PWM frequencies on the dimmers. So a couple of prerequisites. The streaming data must be coming in from your transmitter, and that is indicated by this yellow LED being on. If you don't have streaming data, then the buttons are in bump button mode, which means they're not setting features and functions. So that has to be on. And then the second thing to keep in mind is multiple PWM frequencies only work for the ISL curve. That's the inverse square law curve, which is what you'll be using for LEDs. And PWM frequency only matters for LEDs. You want higher frequencies to avoid artifacts and video capture. So if you're doing video and you're seeing banding and beating, you need to increase the frequency. So that's what we're showing you today. This device is in the default mode, so it's on DMX channels 1, 2, 3, 4. It's already in the ISL slow mode, and we are now going to go play with frequencies. So if I bring up the channel of dimmer 1, I've got it attached to my oscilloscope right here, and here we see the default on the LumenDim is 5 kilohertz. Just under. There's some tolerance in the numbers, so we're seeing 4.93 around there. We call it 5K. So if I want to increment that, I push increment up to the next option. I press and hold the set B button for 3 seconds. So let's do that. Oh, and what I'm also going to do is take the channel off. And the reason I do that is we're looking for a blink pattern. Watch what the set A and set B lights do. Get to that 3-second timeout, and then there's a pattern. That pattern tells you what the frequency is. Let's bring the pattern back, the channel back up. And there we go. We have now a 10K PWM. This is remembered. If you take the power off and put the power back on, that is the PWM frequency you will have forever until you change it. And that includes changing it as restoring defaults, which will put it back to 5K. So keep that in mind also. And we can step up again. Let's do it. I'm going to take the channel off so you can see the blinks clearly. Hold down B for 3 seconds. There's our next pattern. And that one indicates, we'll bring up the level so we can see something. I'm going to open up the scale on the scope. So that's not a change in frequency, that's a change on the scope. We can look at the number here, 19, well, just under 20. We call that 20K. Now we're getting pretty fast. You can do very, very high frame rates at that, and that's still not the maximum. Let's take it up to 40. So now I'm going to hold down the B button. Once again, every time we cycle through the next choice. And that time I'd left the channel up. See how that maybe makes it a little harder to see the pattern? So keep that in mind. Take the channel down, way easier to see. But here we have the highest frequency I'm offering at the time of this video. That's 40 kilohertz. That's the high rate. Now if we cycle again, we go back to the lowest, which is 615. So here we go. Hold it for 3 seconds. We get a pattern, and that is the lowest ISL frequency you can do. I have to roll in the scale on the scope again, and then we see it analyzes that, and we've got 615. So that's how to cycle through the frequencies. You probably don't have a scope when you're doing this, so remember, it's the patterns you're seeing on A and B based on the chart below where you're watching this video. That's how you know what frequency you have. If you miss it, you got to go all the way around again, so allow yourself some time. You do have other ways to set frequencies using computers and software, but I'm doing this video today on how to do it with the buttons. So that is how to set frequencies.